Hey everybody and welcome back to the channel. With it nearing the end of November, I thought it was time for me to update my Oscar predictions. Also, in this video, I'm going to be going over every single category at the upcoming Academy Awards, where in my previous video, I just went over the above the line categories, which is screenplay, acting, directing, and picture. So I probably will be talking about those above the line categories a little bit less, so if you want my more lengthy, in-depth thoughts, please check out the previous video on my channel. Since we last spoke, I was also able to check out Frankenstein and A House of Dynamite, which are two of Netflix's contending movies at this year's Academy Awards. I unfortunately missed Begonia. I'm hoping to check that out really soon. And also, as of me recording this video, I'm going to be seeing Wicked for Good in a couple days. I was hoping to see that before recording, but it just didn't line up with my schedule. But with all that out of the way, please drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with my upcoming Oscar prediction videos, and let's just jump right into them. Alright, and we're going to kick things off with Best Picture as always. If you're new to the channel, you may see pluses and minuses next to films and actors as we go through this video. That is just how much a movie has shifted up and down in my rankings since my previous video. As you can see here, my top 6 has remained steady, one battle after another: Hamnet, Marty Supreme, Sinners, Sentimental Value, and Wicked for Good. Those still feel like the biggest contenders at this year's Academy Awards, and I haven't really had anything shake up my feelings so far. Critic reviews for Wicked are starting to come out as the movie releases the Friday of me making this video. They seem to be a little bit more negative than the first Wicked film, and also I think we are just going to see some second film fatigue at this year's Academy Awards. I don't expect the movie to get as many nominations as it did last year, but I still expect it to perform extremely well. And when I say it's getting worse reviews, it's like in the 70s on Rotten Tomatoes, which is just a little bit worse than last year, so I'm not really panicking like some people seem to be. At number 7, I bumped up It Was Just an Accident. This year's Palme d'Or winner seems to be on track to continue that trend of getting Palme d'Or winners into the Best Picture 10, and that trend of getting an international movie into the Best Picture race as well. I just am starting to feel more confident about it with some other films slipping down. I also bumped Frankenstein up 2 slots. I've seen that movie and I've seen A House of Dynamite, which you can see I moved all the way down to number 16 in the Best Picture race. A House of Dynamite is getting pretty poor general audience reviews, and the critic reviews are very mixed as well. So I think all this is just cementing in that Frankenstein is Netflix's movie to push for Best Picture this year. It seems to be the one that can get a lot of nominations in tech categories, so I'm starting to feel more secure in it being locked. Moving down to my number 9 slot, this is where I am starting to feel more iffy. I feel pretty good about that top 8 now making it into Best Picture. But at number 9, I have Begonia. Begonia seems to be the movie that everyone thought, like, it's not Lanthimos' best, it's not, Emma Stone's best work, so it may just slip out of the Best Picture race this year. But I feel like as more new movies are coming out, they are just performing worse than Begonia did, and Begonia's just kind of holding steady, got very, very solid critic reviews, user reviews are solid, even though it didn't do that good at the box office. I'm not overly worried about that. Lanthimos has just done well at the Oscars over the past handful of years, and if some of these other movies are not making that effort to creep up in there, I think Begonia is going to hold on to get one of those last slots. And at number 10, I kind of just have Avatar Fire and Ash as a placeholder. I go back and forth. I just have a hard time seeing the Academy wanting to nominate the third film in the Avatar franchise to get into Best Picture. I don't have it for a ton of nominations, as you will see as we go through this video, but I just don't know what else is going to sneak up in there. With that being said, I have moved The Testament of An Lee up 2 slots to number 11. This movie just seems like it's a very, very bold, big swing movie that won't resonate with everyone, and that seems like the type of movie I want to put in Best Picture just because the Academy likes to award these unique films with, Best Picture nomination every once in a while. I think of Nickel Boys last year, which was kind of an unconventional Best Picture nominee. The Testament of Van Lee seems like it's that. I haven't had the chance to check it out yet myself, but from what I'm hearing, it seems like kind of more of an oddball film. just because it's a musical, it's a period piece. It's just something very unique. So I'm keeping my eyes on that. And then I have no other choice at number 12. People just seem to be loving this movie. I think Park Chan Wook definitely deserves to get a movie into Best Picture soon here. So possibly, I bumped Jay Kelly down to 13. Once again, this was supposed to be one of Netflix's biggest contenders. It's going to be hitting Netflix in a few weeks here, so I'll finally be able to check it out myself. But it just seems overall very, very mixed. If Netflix wants to reward one of those films where it's Hollywood patting itself on the back, seems to be a film about a struggling actor, possibly. It just doesn't seem to be doing too much outside of possibly Adam Sandler. I have put The Secret Agent here, mostly because Wagner Moura is getting some, support for a Best Actor nomination. Will Neon really be able to get three movies into the Best Picture lineup? I question that. That's why I kind of have it there, but I didn't have it in my last video, so I want to mention that. At 15, I have Train Dreams, which is another Netflix movie, but it seems to be doing better than Jay Kelly and A House of Dynamite with people who are seeing all of these films. It's another movie I'm very excited to see. I believe that hits Netflix this weekend, the same release date as Wicked, so I'll have to check that out because if Netflix really just has to throw House of Dynamite and Jay Kelly to the curb, maybe Train Dreams will start getting a push to sneak up in these final, like best picture pushes. Right below that, House of Dynamite, like I said, I saw the movie. I didn't really care for it. I'm kind of with everyone else. It's just an okay at best movie. Bigelow has done so much better in the past. I don't think this is best picture material. And speaking of not best picture material, Springsteen Deliver Me from Nowhere has been plummeting down, pundits rankings. It did not do overly well at the box office. It did okay. But I just feel like people are sick of these musical biopics, and if they aren't at least being solid, kind of like A Complete Unknown was last year for the Bob Dylan movie, they just aren't going to make it. And I feel like Springsteen is just tumbling down rankings in every single category. Moving on to director, I have a lot less to talk about here. Paul Thomas Anderson still seems to be locked in that first slot. Then Ryan Coogler, Josh Safdie, and Chloe Zhao are all directing films that are in the top five for Best Picture contention. So I feel pretty good about them overall. I did move Jafar Pahani in for It Was Just an Accident. They seem to like to get a international director in, kind of more of a low-key director in once in a while. Out of all of the branches, the director branch seems to be the most picky and has some more unique selections. So with me feeling more secure about It Was Just an Accident making it into Best Picture, I feel more secure about predicting him for director. But with that happening, I did have to take out Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value. It's another movie I really want to see, but from what I'm hearing, it's not really like a director's movie. It's very more about the script, and the acting seems to be the overall sentiment I am getting from what I'm reading. Not saying it's a poorly directed film, but I just feel like some of these other films may be taking bigger swings. And because of that, I also bumped up Guillermo del Toro. Like I said in Best Picture, I'm feeling better about Frankenstein making it into that Best Picture 10. And we know the Academy loves Del Toro, so if they want to go out and give him another directing nomination, I would not be shocked. I've seen Frankenstein now. Not my favorite Del Toro movie. I would probably rate it like a 7 out of 10. Still a very good movie, very watchable, looks beautiful like all of Del Toro's movies, but I'm just not quite sure if I'm there with him getting into this directing five. And then I still have Yorgos Lanthimos, Park Chan-wook, and Mona Fastfold, all directing very interesting movies where if they have a massive surge up, it is very possible for them to sneak in, but I am definitely feeling that this directing race is between that top seven there. Moving over to lead actress, I still have Jessie Buckley in that first slot. And then after that, I swapped Renata Ransva and Cynthia Erivo. It seems like Erivo isn't getting a super ton of praise from the early reviews I'm reading. It's more going towards Ariana Grande. So with that, I just feel like I needed to flip-flop those two here. I have Amanda Seyfried sneaking into the top five for The Testament of Anne Lee. It seems like the Really big thing across the board, even though I talked about the Testament of An Lee kind of being this more unique, big swing type of film, is everyone is praising Amanda Seyfried. So if this movie is getting to the point where the Academy is at least viewing it because they may want to vote for it, it seems like Amanda Seyfried is the very, very bright spot of that film. And it seems to be the thing that everyone is gravitating towards. And with Best Actress kind of being all over the place this year, I'm not really sure who to put in. I think the door is open for her to sneak in. Then at number 5, I do have Emma Stone for Begonia holding strong. Like I said in my last video, Emma Stone is an Academy darling at this point, but if they feel like this isn't her best work, and from what I heard, it's a really, really good performance, but nothing crazy from her, maybe they'll knock her out, or maybe they just love her so much they let her sneak in. Number 6, I have Rose Byrne, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Just another performance everyone seems to really love. I need to check out this movie. But once again, it's a little bit harder to get in when your movie's not contending for a Best Picture nomination. I did bump Chase Infinity all the way down to number 7. She just seems to be the one actor in one battle after another that is on the outside looking in. You'll see in my upcoming categories that one battle after another actors are still performing very well, but Chase Infinity just seems to not be clicking. But if that movie begins to steamroll early in the season, like I'm kind of expecting, maybe she'll come along with the ride. And then I have two new actors listed there at the bottom, Kate Hudson and Song Sung Blue and Jennifer Lawrence, Die My Love. I think they're a little bit longer shots, but I wanted to list them because I have heard some buzz about those two performances as well. Moving on to my acting category that has the biggest shakeups, that is lead actor. I still have Chalamet and DiCaprio at 1 and 2. They seem to be the two frontrunners at this point. But with Jeremy Allen White free falling with Springsteen, I was able to move up Michael B. Jordan to number 3. He's feeling more and more like a lock as the days go by. At number 4, I did bump up Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon. This is a performance I'm hearing a lot about, even though it's a smaller film and it's not really contending for any more nominations, really. It just seems like one of those performances that's getting enough buzz where it can get that lone nomination. You know, there's always one or two actors or actresses that kind of get that lone nomination, even if their movie isn't doing all that well. Ethan Hawke is well known in Hollywood. He's a well respected actor. So this seems like a performance I think could sneak in. Then at number 5, I just bumped down Jesse Plemons for Begonia. Once again, Begonia is a film that I feel like is just right on the cusp. And since I have it in Best Picture, I'm just leaving in Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, holding on because people love them as well. And if this movie is as solid as everyone's saying it is, I think they could easily just sneak into those 4th and 5th slots. At number 6, I have Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. I had this movie surging in the Best Picture nominations or like rankings, and that's because a lot of people are talking about Wagner Moura's performance in this film as well. Once again, a little bit more of a low key movie. Neon has this film as well, and we know that they kind of have their hands full with sentimental value, and it was just an accident. So maybe they don't have enough push to get Wagner Moura up there, but enough people are buzzing about him where he can sneak in. George Clooney just falling down. It seems like a lot of people aren't talking about his performance in this movie. I'm not really sure if he's going to get in. Jeremy Allen White, I think that's kind of just falling down. He might just kind of be completely deleted off this list the next time I talk to you guys. And then at 9 and 10, I added two new actors there that I have heard a lot about. Joel Edgerton in Train Dreams. I talked about how Netflix may start pushing that movie with some of their films trailing off. If that is the case, it seems like Joel Edgerton is the one actor they can push in this movie. And then I have Lee Bwan-hun for No Other Choice. Once again, if that movie is surging a little bit, he seems to be the one actor that can be pushed as well. But once again, I think that's Neon too. I think Neon is just taking on way too much to try to get all these movies in. So I have a hard time predicting, their 3rd and 4th film that they're pushing for awards this season. Moving on to supporting actress, I have no one really changing in my predictions. Ariana Grande, I'm keeping at number 1. She seems to be the bright spot in the new film. Everyone seems to be highlighting her in their reviews so far. And if it wasn't for Amelia Perez last year, I believe Ariana Grande would have won over Zoe Saldana. So I think I'm going to keep Ariana Grande in that number one slot for now. But Tiana Taylor in One Battle After Another could definitely sneak up and snatch that if Wicked begins to tumble. Then I just kind of have a little bit of reordering here. I have Igna Ib's daughter Lilius in at number three. Everyone seems to be highlighting her more than Elle Fanning, but it seems like a lot of people are predicting that double nomination as well. So I'm going to follow suit as this seems like a really acting heavy movie. And then I just bumped Gwyneth Paltrow down to number five. A lot of people have been talking about Odessa Azion in that I have at number seven as the better supporting actress in Marty Supreme. But this is a case where I feel like the kind of the Hollywood royalty, Gwyneth Paltrow won an Oscar for Shakespeare in Love. I feel like that may push her over the edge. I could definitely change my tune when I see Marty Supreme around Christmas. But I'm just gonna keep it like this for now. I still have Amy Madigan in at number six for Weapons. People are still talking about Weapons getting this sole nomination or possibly this with makeup. I still have a hard time seeing it. I think we are kind of getting a little overzealous. We love how the Academy went out to bat for The Substance last year, another horror movie. I just have a hard time seeing them doing it again, especially when they kind of have Sinners as a horror adjacent movie. They have to also nominate this year. But if it happens, it happens, I guess. And then at number eight, I do have Regina Hall for One Battle After Another. People are beginning to talk about her. I'm just not sure if I can see that. Uh, it would just be too many nominations for that movie, in my opinion, in acting categories. I also threw in Emily Watson in Hamnet and Wamni Masaku for Sinners as well at the bottom here. Just some actresses in Best Picture contending movies that have roles that seem like they could sneak in the right scenario. But I feel pretty good about my five in this category currently. Moving over to supporting actor, I still have my main three at the top: Sean Penn, Paul Mescal, and Stellan Skarsgård. But I have to start talking about Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another. I was kind of questioning if he could get in my last video, and now with all of the online reactions and people talking about this movie more, people are in love with his performance. People love his "a few little beers" line, and even though he has a smaller amount of screen time than someone like Sean Penn, people just really are appreciating what he did in that movie. I've seen people predicting Del Toro to win in this category. I'm not there yet personally. I thought Penn was just such a great villain in that movie, and apparently Skarsgård and Mescal are powerhouses in their films respectively as well. So this seems to be a really cutthroat category that I feel like we're going to need more information. We're going to have to see the nominations at the Critics' Choice and the SAG Awards and BAFTAs, and then really see who wins at those award shows before we can really securely predict who we think is going to take home the gold trophy at the Oscars. Um, but for right now, in my gut, I think Sean Penn is still number one. But I do think Del Toro is nearing lock status for a nomination. And number five, I have Delroy Lindo in Sinners. He is my favorite performance in that movie. I really hope he makes it in. I think he deserves it. But a lot of people are pushing him down their list as well. But I just don't know what to do below that. I think Adam Sandler is an actor that people want to celebrate. And if he is the bright spot in Jake Kelly, like some have been saying, I could see him getting a lone nomination for this movie, or possibly like him in a screenplay for Noah Baumbach. So we'll have to see there as well, because that's a possibility. A lot of people are saying Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein as well. He plays Frankenstein's monster in the movie. I he did extremely well in the movie, don't get me wrong. It just feels like a performance I have a hard time seeing get nominated. Um it's possible, like he's been wearing a lot of makeup. Sometimes the Academy likes that, but it's harder for me to see that now that I've seen the film. I brought in Miles Caton for Sinners. I've seen more people talk about him, but I feel like Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan are bigger contenders than him. And then I have Jonathan Bailey in Wicked for Good. That seems like it's not gonna happen after more reviews. It seems like people prefer his performance in the first film, and he didn't get in for that. And then I have Jeremy Strong bumping down for Springsteen as that movie free falls, as I spoke about. Moving over to the screenplay categories, I have adapted screenplay here. No real changes in my top five. Hamnet, One Battle After Another, Begonia, Frankenstein moving up just because I feel stronger about that movie. And then I still have Wake Up Dead Man, the new Knives Out film. Another Netflix movie, but the first two Knives Out movies made it into screenplay. And with this category being weaker, I think it could get its third movie in as well. But I do have no other choice, and Train Dreams at 6 and 7. I think they could sneak in as well. Train Dreams could very easily grab that spot if Netflix begins pushing it as its number two behind Frankenstein. Maybe they'll just drop off a House of Dynamite, Jay Kelly, and Wake Up Dead Man and just want to get Train Dreams into the screenplay category to try to boost its chance in actor and pitcher. It's a possibility for sure. And then I have Wicked for Good and Springsteen down there. I believe they'll probably be off my list the next time I talk to you guys, but I still wanted to leave them on there for the time being. Then, with even less movement than my adapted screenplay category, is original screenplay. I left my top five in there right now. Sentimental Value, Sinners, Marty Supreme. It was just an accident. Those four seem like absolute locks to me. At number five, I have Jay Kelly. I feel like if Adam Sandler wants to get in supporting actor, Jay Kelly really needs this nomination here. And I think it's real only, competition is The Testament of Anne Lee. If that continues to surge and people enjoy that swing that Mona Fastfold took, I think Testament of Anne Lee could grab that fifth slot. But from what I'm hearing, Jay Kelly is more of a righty movie, and everyone knows Noah Baumbach. So I'm just leaving him in at number five, even if Jay Kelly is slowly slipping. House of Dynamite, I moved down to number seven. I guess that kind of this is the one category I could see House of Dynamite sneaking into possibly. I wouldn't personally do it though. And then I have Weapons and Rental Family here. I don't see them making it in at the Oscars, but I wanted to put them here because I feel like these are films that could get nominations at something like the Critics' Choice. And when you get a nomination at the Critics' Choice, it's not nothing. But if these two films don't get nominations there, they'll be off my list as well, just because they are like longer shots to get in here at the Academy. And now we are moving into the below the line categories. So all of these will be brand new. You won't see any ranking shifts on the screen because I have not talked about any of these so far. And I thought it'd be fun to kick off the below the line with the brand new category this year, casting. I really don't know what to expect from this category. We know that the BAFTAs do it, but sometimes they lean more towards British films getting a couple slots. So we could see something really unique happen here, or this just could be, like the best picture top five sneaking in, which isn't exactly what I have here. I have five of my top six, and then I have my number two film at number six. What I kind of wanted to go for is I wanted to go for films that have larger ensemble casts that people can appreciate so that the casting directors had to cast, like multiple people. And I also wanted to go for, films where people remember characters. So at number one, I have One Battle After Another. It's the top film performing this year. You have Leonardo DiCaprio in there. You have fantastic supporting performances. Like I said, Sean Penn and Benicio del Toro are going back and forth in supporting actor. And if people are loving these characters that much, that's a great job casting. So I have that at number one. Number two, I have Wicked. Wicked's a movie I think would have won this Oscar if this category existed last year. People love Arrivo and Grande. What I think could be holding this film back is I'm not sure if people are on board with Jeff Goldblum and Michelle Yeoh. People still seem to be mixed on the both of their roles. But just for those two leading ladies, I could see this film possibly winning for that. And if they kind of want to award it as a package since it wasn't possible for it to win last year. Three, I have Marty Supreme, which is just a massive, massive cast led by Timothy Chalamet. Four, I have Sinners, which is just a fantastic lineup as well, and I talked about multiple supporting actors in that movie as well. And then at five, I have Sentimental Value, which would be my most nominated film in the acting category, so I feel like I had to put that in. At six, I have Hamnet. I think Jesse Buckley and Paul Mescal are contenders for winning their respective acting categories, but I'm just not sure with only having like two actors like that. I'm not sure if that's going to get into casting. Like I said, new category, we're not too sure. At number 7, I have Wake Up Dead Man, the new Knives Out movie. We know those are massive ensembles. If that is what the Academy wants to go for and be like, wow, you got a bunch of A-listers in this movie. That's cool. We'll nominate you. It's a possibility. Something like that could happen. We have Frankenstein and Jay Kelly, which are just two other movies that have a very, very solid cast of beloved actors. So I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out at this year's Academy Awards. It will definitely give us more information on how to predict it in the coming years. I'm just more interested if people are going to want to nominate films in this category because they love the cast as a whole, which really isn't what the award's about. It's more about nominating the casting director for selecting the right actors for the roles. Sometimes I struggle with trying to predict how other Academy voters are viewing what this category means. So definitely let me know what you guys think about this category in the comments below, because I've gone back and forth and definitely shifted these movies around a lot. Up next, I have cinematography, and I think this is really coming down to Sinners versus One Battle After Another. Which scene do you like more? Do you like the barn scene with all of the music and the one-shot moving camera, or do you like One Battle After Another with the rolling hills car chase scene? Those seem to be the two big scenes of the year that are a real showcase of great cinematography and camera work. So that's why I kind of think it's going to come down to those two films. I personally prefer the Sinners barn scene, so I have that at number 1 currently. But outside of that, Frankenstein, absolutely beautiful film. If there is a category outside of, like production design where Frankenstein deserves to get in, it's definitely this one. Hamnet, I heard, is absolutely beautiful. And Marty Supreme, I heard, feels like a massive film in scope as well. So I have them in. The Testament of Anne Lee, though, I heard looks outstanding. It is a extremely beautiful film. So once again, if that film surges, definitely could sneak in here. Train Dreams, I heard, is a very quiet, very subtle, but very calculated movie. Sometimes those types of films do sneak in. Usually we see that more with like black and white movies that get in. But if Netflix wants to push this, like I've been saying, it's possible. Then I had Begonia, just because Yorgos has gotten in for his films. His films have gotten in before. And F1 is a movie you'll begin to see pop up in some of these below the line categories. I think F1 was very uniquely shot with all of the F1 driving scenes that they have. I don't think it's going to get in here, but I think F1 is a film you guys are going to want to keep in the back of your mind. I definitely have it in some categories. It made a lot of money. It didn't perform extremely well in the United States specifically, but it made a lot of money internationally. So I think for some of these techs, it could definitely perform very well. Moving over to costumes, I still have Wicked in the number 1 slot. After seeing Frankenstein, it definitely has some beautiful costumes, but I feel like Wicked is going to be more glitzy and glamoury, and I think this is one category where it has a chance to win again. At 3 and 4, I have, and 5, at 3, 4, and 5, I have 3 period piece films, which definitely get into costumes a lot. Sinners, Hamnet, Testament of Anne Lee. So I think these 5 are probably the most costumey, if that's not a word, but what I'm going to describe them as. So I think they have the best chances of getting in. Marty Supreme, I heard, has some okay costumes, but it's not as period piece as these top 5. At 7, I have One Battle and After Another, just because it's that front runner. And at number 8, I have Kiss of the Spider Woman, which is a film contending in no other category, but I heard has some solid costumes, but it's really going to have to, like dig its teeth in and hold on for dear life if it wants to try to get a nomination here. Moving over to makeup and hairstyling, I have Frankenstein at number 1. That head to toe makeup for Jacob Elordi. I think he was talking about sitting in the, makeup chair for 9-10 hours when he was in full costume. So usually the Academy loves that. We saw The Substance win last year when, Demi had to sit in the chair for just as long to get ready for some of her scenes. So I think that's pretty much a lock to take home this award. Number 2, I have Wicked. I think it's going to get in again as well. Sinners, absolutely, for all of the different vampire looks. Begonia, I've seen a lot of like white powder on Emma Stone's face, and then she had to like shave her head for the role. I know that's not really hairstyling by just chopping it all off, but it with the lack of movies this year in this category that seem to make sense, I'm putting it there for right now. And at number 5, I have Weapons. Definitely, if you think Amy Madigan is going to get in Best Supporting Actress, you better be predicting Weapons as well, because part of her performance is that crazy caked on makeup and the crazy wig that she's wearing. It's definitely a memorable character, and I have her in right now just because I feel like Amy Madigan herself, even though I didn't have her in my top 5, is being talked about more than something like Dwayne Johnson in The Smashing Machine. That movie absolutely flopped at the box office, and yeah, he had to wear some small prosthetics, but I have a hard time seeing it get in. It's definitely possible just because of the prosthetics, but I don't know. 28 years later, another zombie movie. Have a hard time seeing a horror movie. If there is a horror movie here, it will be Weapons and Sinners. And at number 8, I have Blue Moon. I heard there's some prosthetics in this movie. That's the only reason I have it listed here. But I cannot comment too much more on that. That is definitely me just kind of riding the waves of other things I've seen online. Moving on to film editing, I have those top contenders at the top here as well. One Battle After Another, Sinners, Marty Supreme, and Hamnet. Absolutely, One Battle After Another, Sinners probably deserves this win from seeing them. From what I'm hearing, Marty Supreme could as well. But One Battle After Another and Sinners are just so well put together. I have a hard time seeing anything overtake those two films for me. At number 5, this is where I first start to sneak in F1. Just cutting in all of those different racing scenes and perfectly editing that together with kind of the car crash scenes and the overhead and wide shots of the car zooming around the racetrack. I think the film was really well put together. A lot of people who kind of crap on this movie, it's more just kind of about Brad Pitt playing this like cookie cutter character, the story being kind of paint by your numbers sports movie type of thing. But in the craft categories, this movie looked damn good to me, so I think this is an area where it could sneak in. Sentimental Value, I feel like is just kind of a slower film. Frankenstein, I didn't see anything in the editing there that really, blew me away. Wicked for Good, I just with it getting lesser reviews, I have a hard time seeing it get into editing in back-to-back years. Definitely because that was probably in the 4th or 5th slot last year for editing. And then once again, just a couple other long shots down there at the bottom. No Other Choice and Bugonia, which I heard are just very solid as well. Moving over to production design, I think these top 3 are the ones really contending for a win: Frankenstein, Wicked, and Sinners. Wicked is kind of an interesting one here. It won last year, and I feel like a lot of this movie is probably going to be reusing some of those same sets as the first film. So I have a hard time thinking that the Academy is going to want to award a movie for kind of the same set design 2 years in a row. Both of the films were filmed back to back on the same sets. They didn't really have to like deconstruct them or reconstruct them. If there's some really magnificent, colorful new sets, I could possibly have my mind changed. But for right now, I think the Academy is going to once again appreciate Del Toro's style. Wonderful gothic atmosphere in this movie. Um, Once again, even if you're not the biggest fan of how Del Toro adapted Frankenstein into the vision he had in this film, it's hard to deny how beautiful the film looked. Sinners, though, that barn is just wonderful production design to me. I'm just worrying that there's not enough location, not enough cool things in the movie for it to win, but I think it's enough to get nominated. For Hamnet, I heard is a wonderful period piece, and Marty Supreme, I just heard there's a lot going on in that movie as well. Avatar Fire and Ash, this is a category where it could definitely get in. If Avatar I think Avatar can still get into Best Picture without getting this nomination, but if it's really wanting to be secure in Best Picture, it probably needs this one. I could see it overtaking Marty Supreme. Um, I just have a hard time nominating Avatar too many times, even though I had it in my Best Picture 10 slot. It, I, Outside of, like visual effects, I'm just iffy on it. But if that movie really blows me away, if I think it's better than the Way of Water, I have no issues sliding that in. Then I have One Battle After Another. maybe. I There really wasn't too much crazy with the production design there. The Testament of Van Lee being a period piece, definitely possible. And Begonia, I heard, is like kind of a more one location film, so I don't think it's going to be as strong as Lanthimos's previous works who've got into this category. Moving on to one of the music categories, we have score, and once again, this seems to be a sinners versus one battle after another battle. I'm personally leaning towards the sinners score personally. It's one that stuck with me all the way since the movie came out at the beginning of the year. But we'll see. Hamnet apparently has a wonderful score. Frankenstein, I really enjoyed that score as well, so I wanted to put it in here. And then I have Marty Supreme, one that I want to hear for sure. Begonia, I heard, has a wonderful score as well. So definitely possible that that sneaks in. And then below that, Testament of Van Lee, need that to surge up if possible. Wicked, I'm not really sure. And then I had to put F1 at the bottom there just because it was Hans Zimmer, and sometimes, getting it on name value alone is enough, especially if F1 performs extremely well in these below the line categories. But if you're asking me personally, I think it's going to be 5 of these top 6 films getting into score currently. Moving on to sound, this is a really competitive category as well. I have F1 at number 1 just because engines, car racing, car crashes, there had to be a lot of sound design that went into this movie. So I'm just leaving it there for right now. Sinners, though, with its kind of musical, or not musical, but music themes around it, has a lot of great sound as well. All of the vampires kind of, like hopping around in the fighting scenes too. Avatar Fire and Ash probably getting into this category as well. I'm picturing explosions and big whooshing flames across the screen as we explore this new fire realm. And James Cameron absolutely, thrives when it comes to these, visual storytelling elements and sound design areas. 4, I have One Battle After Another. Just a very competently put together film, and with it being in that best picture number 1 slot, I think it could sneak in. And then I also have Wicked just because it's a musical. But if you think that like Frankenstein's going to get in for his kind of like rampage scene at the beginning and him shaking the boat and that sort of thing, or and bringing Frankenstein's monster to life, definitely possible. I just don't think that the sound design was otherworldly, but if Wicked kind of leaves me, I could definitely flip flop those two after this weekend. Then just kind of two movies with a lot of like gunshots and action going on: Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning and Warfare. Possible Mission Impossible got in here last year, I believe. I know it got into visual effects. I think it got into sound as well. Don't quote me on that. But that movie had a lot going on. I'm just kind of worried that didn't leave a big enough impact to get in, kind of like F1 did earlier this year. Then we have visual effects. I have to put Avatar Fire and Ash at the top. It won for the first 2 films, and if there's any award where it can do a 3 clean sweep in for getting nominations and wins, it's visual effects. This movie is going to look outstanding. The first 2 Avatar movies looked outstanding, and I feel like, I don't know, I'm personally more of a fan of like fire atmosphere, so I think I might personally like this movie more, even though I know probably all the water effects and underwater things that Cameron did in the previous movie are probably more impressive from a technical level. I have a feeling this movie's going to wow me more, so I have it at number 1. And number 2, I have Wicked. The visual effects look good in the first movie. I think it can get in again here. At 3, I have F1. I think a lot of visual effects went to those car crash scenes and some of those racing scenes to kind of enhance the action. So if that's getting into a couple other technical categories, it could get in here. Superman, DC movies really don't get into this category a ton. It's usually Marvel movies, but with James Gunn directing this one, I'm thinking it has a chance to get in, especially because there's really no Marvel movie pushing too hard to get in here unless you're a Fantastic Four fan, which I have at slot 6. Then at number 5, I have Frankenstein. There's surprisingly more visual effects in that movie than I was expecting. I was expecting Del Toro to keep it a lot more practical than he did, but the visual effects did look very good, so I think that's going to get in here as well. But below that, yeah, I've Mission Impossible, possible. The last movie got in. How to Train Your Dragon, no one's really talking about that movie, even though it made quite a bit of money at the box office. Tron Ares absolutely flopped. I don't really think that has a chance. And then I have Sinners down there too, which I just don't think has overall enough visual effects, even though they're used effectively when they are used. Shifting over to talk about some movies we have not seen yet in animated feature. At number one, I have the worldwide phenomena K-pop Demon Hunters. That movie, everyone it seems like has seen it. It has like hundreds of millions of watched hours on Netflix. I think it's very easily going to take home this award unless Zootopia comes out in a couple weeks here and makes just like over $1 billion at the box office. Then you might kind of have a little bit more of a race. Um, but yeah, those seem to be the two big movies right now. Below that, I have Arco and Little Amelie, or The Character of Rain. These are two movies I know next to nothing about, but a lot of pundits and people are saying they are excellent animated films. And, if that's what they are, I believe they are going to get in this year. And at number five, I have Elio, which flopped at the box office for Disney Pixar earlier this year, but I had a good time with Elio. I thought it was one of Pixar's better films in the past handful of years. I was glad to see an original movie from them come out, and I thought it was cute and fun, and the animation looked good. So I hope it does get in. At six, I have Nausea 2, which is like one of the highest grossing movies of all time. It's a movie from China. I just don't think it made a big enough splash on the US side of thing here to get in. At number seven, I have a Netflix film called In Your Dreams. Very possible for it to get in, but I just feel like Netflix is going to be worrying about some of their best picture contending films and then also K-pop Demon Hunters in this category. And at eight is another film I don't know much about, but I've seen people mention, and that is Scarlet. Starting to wind down to our last few categories here, we're gonna do original song. At number one, I have Girl in the Bubble and Wicked for Good. This is Ariana Grande's solo song, and it seems to be the more popular one of the two so far. I believe the other new original song is No Place Like Home, which is Cynthia Erivo's. You can come at me in the comments if I have that flip-flopped or wrong, but I believe that's what I heard so far. But Girl in the Bubble seems to be the more popular one so far, but I have both of those making it in. Then I have Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. Once again, just massive movie, massive song. So I think it's going to get in. I have I Lied to You from Sinners. There's also the song called Last Time that I have at spot six. I think one of those two will get in, if not both, possibly. But I Lied to You seems to be the bigger of the two. Then at number four, I have that yearly Diane Warren slot. She has a documentary about herself, and she wrote some original music for her documentary, and that is Relentless. And then I have Dear Me at number eight. I put Relentless in because if the documentary is called Diane Warren Relentless, I'm picturing the song called Relentless will be the one pushed the most. I still don't get how Diane Warren gets in every single year, but she does, so that's what I have there. And then the other song I have in there is Dream as One from Avatar Fire and Ash. That seems to be kind of the big song from Avatar Fire and Ash, so definitely an outside chance there. I think there's a bigger artist attached to that. I believe it's Miley Cyrus. Um, don't quote me on that one either. I didn't do complete research on everything here. Like I should, but that's my top five that I feel pretty secure in. And those two nominations and original song for Wicked definitely help its nomination total to try to match what it did last year. Moving over to international feature, I have four movies at the top here that I've talked about throughout this video. So I think usually when films are popping up or very close to getting nominated in other categories in the international realm, they generally make it into this category. So that's the two best picture nominees I have, Sentimental Value and It Was Just an Accident. And then also kind of the two cusp movies, No Other Choice and The Secret Agent. Obviously, if we see No Other Choice and The Secret Agent also pop up in other categories nomination morning, more than likely they're absolute locksteed in here if they aren't already as is. Then at number five, I have Mubi's film Sound of Falling. It seems like it's kind of between Sound of Falling and Surat to get into that final spot. But then I just kind of have a couple other films listed below that have an outside chance as well that I've heard about. And that is all of the categories I am going to go over today. Obviously, there's things like documentary, feature, and then all of the shorts. those are things I'm going to predict closer to the Academy Awards. I do not follow those categories all that closely throughout the year. So I'll have more information on that in coming videos. But I did kind of want to talk about my nomination totals that I have so far with these predictions. At number one, I do surprisingly have Sinners with 13 nominations. I was expecting this to be one battle after another, which is just one below it at 12. But I guess that song nomination I have for Sinners would push it over the edge for one and beat one battle after another. I think another thing I also have to keep in mind is 13 seems high for Sinners, but that casting category is new, and I had the film getting in there. So that is one extra nomination that, it wouldn't have gotten years prior. So 12 nominations for that makes sense. It might be a little high, but it is just a film that is contending in above the line categories and below the line categories across the board. So yeah, Sinners one battle after another, probably going to be the two most nominated films if I had to guess right now. Wicked, I do have surprisingly at 11 nominations, but once again, the casting award and the two songs. So if it didn't have that, it would be at 8 nominations, which probably sounds more right to me. So adding in kind of this extra stuff that it's contending for this year, I can be okay with 11. I have a feeling that's going to drop a little bit just based on those early reviews. I could see Wicked hovering more around the 9 nomination total probably. Hamnet and Marty Supreme at 10 apiece, easily can see that happening. They are also contending above the line and below the line. Sentimental Value with 8, that is heavily riding on it getting, 4 nominations in the acting categories, which it seems poised to do, but if some of that starts to fall a little bit, we could see Sentimental Value kind of settling in a little bit lower as well. Frankenstein at 8, absolutely. This is kind of one of those movies I think could climb up because I didn't have Del Toro in for directing. I didn't have this in for casting. I didn't have this in for supporting actor for Jacob Elordi. So Frankenstein could be a movie that sneaks up this list and becomes one of those films with 10 nominations. Then I have Begonia with 5, which is a movie that could literally drop to possibly 0 if it doesn't make it into Best Picture. If it doesn't make it into Best Picture, it could drop out of both of the acting categories. I think it's at least going to get screenplay. Makeup it could drop out of. So, Begonia could range from probably 1 to 6 nominations, but I have it on the higher end now. It was just an accident. 4 seems about right for that movie. Avatar 3 seems about right. Even if it doesn't make it into Best Picture, it's still going to get a couple below the lines. F1, I do think, is going to get 3. A lot of people aren't talking about F1 at the Oscars for some reason. They haven't, sound, and that's it. But I think F1 can get a handful of nominations here just with how well put together that is. And then my last two films here, K-Pop Demon Hunters, it's going to get 2. It's going to get song and animated feature. Then The Testament of Anne Lee with 2. That's a film that could kind of flip-flop with, I was talking about Begonia could be 1 to 5. Testament of Anne Lee could be 0 to 8. Testament of Anne Lee is the film I just cannot get a grasp on. I'm very interested to see how that performs, Critics' Choice, probably Golden Globes most likely. Golden Globe seems to be a little bit more adventurous with their nominations going out for movies like this, where Critics' Choice I think would rather go for something like Avatar, or possibly they would go up for Weapons or something like that. But if Anne Lee does good at the BAFTAs and Golden Globes, easily Anne Lee could be seeing 5 to 7 nominations. But there we have it. That's kind of where my nomination totals sit currently. Please let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Am I being a little bit top heavy with some of these movies, or do you think this distribution is pretty good? I always love hearing other people's thoughts because right now everything's a toss up. Once we start getting more precursor information in the next couple of weeks here with the Critics' Choice nominations coming out, that's where I can really start shaking up my rankings. But I wanted to get these out at the end of November here just so I can continue doing my my monthly updates here as we move forward towards March and the 2026 Oscars. I want to thank you for checking out my most recent Oscar predictions. What are your thoughts? What are you predicting is going to happen at this year's Academy Awards? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're down there, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It all goes in a long way in helping me out. Thank you, and have a good one, everybody.